Hey everybody, it's David Waters from the Gators Breakdown Podcast. Thanks for joining us here. Look, go do something new here. Gators Breakdown Plus. I don't know how often it'll be, but I'll go do some Periscopes on the Twitter platform. It's kind of a question and answer session, but what I'll do is I'll take that Periscope and I'll turn it into a podcast, and it'll be called Gators Breakdown Plus. So this is something new. We're going to try it and see how it goes. You guys requested that I turn it into an audio version, so it'll be uploaded to all the platforms: iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, SoundCloud, all that good stuff. So thanks for checking it out, and we'll see how it goes. Go Gators! I'll try and keep up with the questions as much as I can, as well as talk of points of what we're going to talk about. Just some topics, of course, going into signing day. On Wednesday, but of course, got a few people in here, so we'll go ahead and get it going. Van Jefferson is going to transfer to Florida. Big news coming for the Gators. Trading will be signing, so I would imagine that's my prediction for later. Should be Wednesday. But keep it on Van Jefferson for a little while. Transfers in. He had 42 receptions this year for 456 yards, averaged 10.9 yards a catch, had a long of 40. But here's the thing, one touchdown. That's all he had was one touchdown. So what I did was I wanted to go back and look at Florida this past year. And, hey, look, we know the passing game isn't where it needed to be. Van Jefferson, as I said, 42 receptions, 456 yards, averaged 10.9. Yes, he was hurt a lot. Here's the thing. Very comparable to Brandon Powell for Florida. Brandon Powell was 42 receptions, 406 yards, averaged 9.7. Powell actually, had more touchdowns with 3. But as we know, Ole Miss, they've been stacked at receiver. Whether it will be, we kind of know why they've been stacked at receiver for the last few years. But he's a bigger target. He is not the shifty slot guy that Brandon Powell is. Brandon Powell, for what he is, kind of garners more catches. He was Felipe Frank's favorite target. He was the third down target for this Gator passing offense. So Jefferson's a completely different receiver in and of himself. I mean, a lot bigger, of course, 6'2", 195. You can match him up now with Tyree Cleveland. You can still get, whether it be Kadarius Toney in the slot. You still got Freddie Swain, Josh Hammond out there. We'll kind of see where this, but the depth. Really, you have a true 1 and 2 right now, and if that's what Florida was missing this past year with Callaway not being on the field. Cleveland, even of course he was beat up too, couldn't stay healthy. But if you would have had Cleveland and Callaway, you couldn't shade coverage to one side, or if you did, one of those guys was going to be in one-on-one coverage a lot. Now with Van Jefferson and Tyree Cleveland together. But here's the thing about Van Jefferson. I don't want to get too far ahead of it. We don't know if he'll be eligible to play in 2018 or not. He will petition the NCAA, much like Shea Patterson's doing on his way to Michigan. Van Jefferson may not be eligible for 2018, so we'll kind of see where that goes. He'll petition the NCAA. The NCAA will have to approve if he plays in 2018 or not. I read today going about with Shea Patterson in Michigan, they hope to hear early next year if he will be able to play for Michigan. So I'd assume Van Jefferson was probably going to wait till he had a destination of where he was going to go, and then he would probably petition NCAA as well. So he'd be about a week behind Shea Patterson. So Shea Patterson is looking to hear early next year, January, February, if he'd be available to play in 2018. I would assume Van Jefferson would be as well. So I would think we would probably know going into spring practice if Van Jefferson will be able to take part in 2018 season for the Gators. So career-wise, hey, look, he had his first year playing was in 2016. I believe he's been redshirted. So 2016, 49 receptions, 543 yards, average 11.1 yards a catch, long of 44, had 3 touchdowns. So as a career, 91 catches for 999 yards, basically a 1,000-yard receiver in 2 years, and 4 touchdowns. He's from Brentwood, Tennessee, 6'2", 195. So big pickup either way. Hey, look, this sends a signal. And then I know there was some there was some talk out there if he could get in academically to Michigan. There were some people thinking he couldn't. So, we're probably looking at that. Louisville there was some talk there as well if he would be going to Louisville. That didn't happen, and some other schools. So, there was a little bit of competition for Van Jefferson. Look, as far as I know, he's a good kid and all that. So I don't think it would have been he wouldn't have been going to Louisville or anything like that because of off-field trouble or anything like that. So we'll look. This is a good get for Dan Mullen. Look, this is perception right now, and we knew the perception of the recruiting class coming in was you talked about the recruiting class was ranked very high, and could it stay that way? You can hardly hear me, Scott. I've been told I've been sound good from other people, so not sure if it's on your end or my end. If anybody else is having trouble, let me know. Um, but we know that the competition um, for recruiting, as recruiting was coming in, Florida was rated high. And as Bill has said a couple of times on this podcast, Jim McElwain, Doug Nussmeier, and the last staff was recruiting well because they were able to sell 2017 would have been a building year. There would have been something to point to with Felipe Franks or another quarterback where you would have seen the offense take off. Well, you didn't see the offense take off. And as Bill says, they were sold a bill of goods that this offense that you never got to see. So we don't know if this recruiting class would have really held together anyway. Now, if they would have kept Matt Corral under Jim McElwain and all that, more than likely the class would have mostly stayed together. But they were also sold that they were going to see something better from this offense this past year. So these highly rated wide receiver recruits that ended up decommitting because of the firing, hey, look, they may have decommitted anyway because they didn't see what they wanted to see from this Florida offense this past year anyway. So we're going to see what happened there anyway. But hey, look, like I said, going into this, perception reasons, this is big. I mean, you go and you're beating out other teams for a wide receiver. This was a 4-star wide receiver that was highly coveted when he was recruited to Ole Miss a few years ago. I would assume still highly coveted, and he's choosing to go to Florida. So I think that's big time for Dan Mullen. It sends a shockwave kind of throughout the nation right now heading into Wednesday. And you have a quarterback out there, as we know, Emory Jones, who's looking around, currently committed to Ohio State, looked around at Florida this past weekend, looked around at FSU. Both of those were pre-planned coming into this weekend. It's not like he left Florida because he wasn't happy and wanted to go check out FSU. It was planned when Emory Jones came down here to take a couple more visits before he was going to make his decision that it was going to be, I'm going to go visit Florida, and then I was going to go visit FSU. And hey, here's the thing. The Florida visit actually lasted longer than it was supposed to. He was going to go to FSU a little bit earlier in the day, which would have been Saturday. He was going to go earlier. He actually stayed at Florida a little bit later. I believe tried to eat dinner with Dan Mullen, and then go to FSU. He arrived at FSU late Saturday. There probably wasn't much going on. I mean, granted, he's a college student, but I believe he was with his mom on Saturday. His mom drove down Saturday. Then they both went over to FSU, so they get there late Saturday night. There's not much to do, so I'm sure he spent plenty of time with Willie Taggart on Sunday. But look, that staff has not been put together yet at FSU. He has Emory Jones has a background with Dan Mullen, and Johnson, the new OC wide receiver coach, quarterback coach, Brian Johnson. So there's a background there, and it looks good for Florida. We'll kind of see where it goes with Emory Jones. If I had to pick, I would definitely say Florida right now. All the crystal balls and 24/7 is headed that way. A lot of Ohio State insiders are leaning towards Florida, so we'll kind of go from there. But it looks like the writing on the wall is Emory Jones will make his way down to Gainesville, and hey, look, we'll have a receiver in Van Jefferson to throw to. So I kind of will go back a little bit and kind of recap the end of last week. We had a podcast in the middle of the week with Blake Alderman sorry about the what sounded like potato chip sound, but it was a mic rubbing on Blake's shirt there, so it was kind of funny there. But uh, the whole Matt Corral situation. Hey, look, I went to go see Star Wars Thursday night. I walk out of there and come out to the Matt Corral news. Look, it wasn't surprising. The writing was kind of on the wall when Dan Mullen, first day on the job, goes and visits other quarterbacks and goes visit Justin Fields and other quarterbacks. And hey, look, it's a disservice to Dan Mullen and a disservice to fans if he doesn't go visit other quarterbacks and try and look. We knew, and I said it here on podcast on Gators Breakdown. The chances of flipping Justin Fields were slim to none. But you know what? He's got to go at least check, and it's a disservice if he doesn't. So he had to go figure out what that was, and look. And in doing that, going and go talk to other quarterbacks. Found out there was some interest from Emory Jones, and some people have questioned if he. Some people would question if he would have been ready to go to Ohio State. There had been some questions if he was going to go to Ohio State a lot lately, and yes, he's been liking Ohio State tweets and everything as far as that. But there has been some talk out there that he may not want to go to Ohio State, that he may look around. Ohio State has a deep depth chart at quarterback. Haskins is there, and that quarterback is for Ohio State Dwayne Haskins is going to be that quarterback at Ohio State for a little while. Now, don't get me wrong, he could have been like Justin Fields and said, I don't care what they have at quarterback, I want to go. But you have a brand new head coach coming in at Florida, one you have a history with, one who fits your skill set, and there you go. You can come in, you'll be fighting for the job day one. You may not win the job day one. I still have my doubts. Look, and it's nothing against Emory Jones, and I know it works a little bit. We've seen Jake Fromm do it at Georgia this past year. I'm not a big true freshman coming in at quarterback winning a job, and that doesn't matter who you are. So it's not a knock on Emory Jones. I guess I'm a traditionalist in that sense, is that I think it's hard for true freshmen to win a job, but this is a quarterback you're getting in your first year. Jim McElwain didn't do that. McElwain didn't get a quarterback his first year, and that probably set him back a good bit for his tenure at Florida. You're setting up depth. You have other quarterbacks who maybe don't fit the system in what Mullen wants to do. Felipe Franks, you trust him in running this offense? Yes, he has a little bit of mobility. We saw it from time to time, but can he run Dan Mullen's offense? Remains to be seen. It is a different type of offense. He won't be asked to scan the field as much as he was in Jim McElwain's pro-style offense. This is a more, you do a lot pre-snap, and you kind of know where you're going with the ball before the ball's even snapped. Now, the wide receiver has a lot of option routes. The wide receiver can run in, can run out. The wide receivers and the quarterbacks have to be on the same page a lot more in this offense. They have to read the coverages of the defense and kind of know they have to be on the same page of what route they're going to run. So, that kind of, we'll kind of see what that means for Felipe Franks. I know a lot of people still talk about Kyle Trask. I don't know what the love affair is. It's probably not that it's Kyle Trask. It's probably more that it's not Felipe Franks. So I get that, but and I'm not trying to dog the kid for Kyle Trask, but we just haven't seen it. And people can sit here and say how well he's played in spring practice. Look, we know that doesn't mean a daggum thing. What you do in April in a spring game in front of 30,000, 40,000 fans doesn't matter. I'm not going to go by what we've seen about that. He didn't play a lot in high school. All we have is very limited spring game film on him. I get that some people want to see him, but I've also seen the thought out there that people think he can actually be the guy. And for somebody to say that, there's just not enough out there right now to say that. So, look, we have Jake Allen out there as well. And, of course, we know not a fit for what Dan Mullen is known best for. But we've seen the Alex Smith offense, and you can just be a little mobile. This from the time at Utah. And we'll see and go from there. Then we've also seen when Dan Mullen came in, Chris Leak was also a quarterback not asked to run a lot in 2005. And then, get Tebow in '06 as a change of pace type of quarterback, and then kind of use the two quarterback system to get all the yards and everything you need there. If you want to sit here and spout Mullen's record against top 25 teams, okay, you can go somewhere else with that. I mean, come on, we've talked about it plenty. You probably don't listen to the podcast, and I'm sure you're not a Gator fan anyway. But what he did at Mississippi State speaks for itself, and ain't nobody else doing what he did there before or after. So, we'll move on from that. Yeah, exactly. Couldn't win big game. Well, who else was at Mississippi State? But look, early signing day. This is going to be it's going to be pretty exciting. Cheryl did okay. Well, okay, yeah. Well, there we go. Why is Dan Mullen still considered the best coach in program history? So, going to be fun for signing day. The thing that's going to be weird for Dan Mullen and all these other new first-year coaches, hey, look, this early signing period changes a lot of stuff. You now have a lot less time with trying to you have to get a staff together. That's going to help you recruit. And then that slows everything down. You can't, you kind of have to sprint now even faster, even faster than you would have had to before. You don't have until February. You have to get there, get your staff together, get on the road in a hurry. And Dan Mullen's basically, 3.5 weeks on the job before he has to now go into signing day. And then, now you have a lot of lower tier guys who want to go ahead and get in while they have a spot. And they're taking advantage of that. New coach, they're still trying to get, as I say, adjusted to a new staff. Quickly identify the commitments that you already have and see if they fit with what you already have. And if they don't, most of them, hey, look, Mullen's going from a pro style set that Jim McElwain run to now more of a spread run power system, and from a 4-3 to a 3-4. So look, they are going to have to look at their board and see if the guys that Jim McElwain and the old staff currently had as commitments, see if they fit what they want to do. So, you got to quickly identify these commitments that you want to keep and not keep, and work on these guys who want to sign early first. These are the guys you have to hit first. Back in the past, you just you waited until February. You had some early enrollees that you may have had to go get, but it's not like this early signing period now where, hey, a lot of these classes are going to be close to being done in December. And we'll see how that goes. But Florida's probably looking at 10 to 13 guys. But you have to work on these guys who want to sign early first. So in turn, this could make it where you want to sign in February. You have to the guys who sign in February, they have to wait to get the attention. And so does that shove them off to go look at other schools? While in these 3.5 weeks as a new coach, you have to get these guys. You have to either keep the guys that are already committed, identify new targets, and go get. So there's some balancing of numbers that come into this, some risk taking involved. That's the part where I'm talking about. A lot of risk taking in who you identify early. You don't want to make it not look like the guys you're going to go get in February and the 2019 guys that they're not important. But it's uncharted territory for new coaches. It's kind of tough in what happens there. So I think we've seen it. Florida State's having trouble with it. Other coaches are having trouble figuring out, especially in a new Florida we put into a weird situation as going back to what I said in changing so much. You're going from a pro style to a spread and a 4-3 to a 3-4. So I expected that, and Dan Mullen, look, you could tell he wanted to trim some fat on the commitments that were already on Florida's board. He saw some fits, or he saw some players that weren't going to be fits. You can already tell he's going after bigger wide receivers, for one thing. He likes the more bigger-bodied receiver in his offense, and it's already shown from some guys who have decommitted, some guys who may decommit, and then going from there. So I'm trying to keep up with a lot of the things you guys are sending there. But, Wednesday, as I said, a couple more days. Look, players are signed early. What we're looking at, of current commits as well. Chris, I don't know how you say his last name, the recent offensive lineman, Chris Blake. I don't know how you say his name. We'll see how that goes there. Hey, Amari Burney, we had him on Gators Breakdown last spring before we started the season. Amari Burney's going to be, of course, he's committed. He's going to sign early. Iverson Clement, running back, will sign early. Noah Banks, offensive lineman, he's an Arkansas commit, but it does look like there's a good chance of flipping Noah Banks. I just saw Emory Jones. Somebody asked. Yeah, it looks like I think he's supposed to be committing at 11:30 on Wednesday. So Emory Jones there, be looking out for that early Wednesday morning. Trey Dean as well will be a player that would sign early. So it looks like Florida, in good shape to get his commitment. Damian Pierce, at 2 o'clock, it looks like as well, running back there. Probably my favorite player in the class. Just a big-time bruising running back with a lot of speed. I'll come back to that about Wednesday. We will have a show. We'll have Gators Breakdown that night. A big show with Will and Bill and myself that night. So John Huggins recently committed. He is a player that's going to sign early as well. Kicker Evan McPherson, recent Florida commit. Randy Russell, Kyle Pitts, Dante Lang, and David Reese are the guys that are committed that are going to early sign. There's one big target out there, Malik Heath, the wide receiver. If he early signs, it'll be with Mississippi State. If they can hold off and he doesn't early sign on Wednesday, Florida would definitely get in the race for him. And, we'll see how that goes. Big time wide receiver. Currently committed to Mississippi State. If he early signs, he'll definitely will early sign with Mississippi State. He hasn't taken a visit to Florida, so that would be what they wait on. And we'll go there. We'll go from there and see if they can get the big time wide receiver there. And we'll see what happened there. Keep seeing stuff about Wednesday. Yes, we will have a Gators Breakdown Wednesday night after everything kind of settles down. We'll have a lot more to review. All the players that sign early, all that stuff. Like I said, Will Miles and Bill Sykes will join me. You guys, if you follow Gators Breakdown, definitely know those guys. You can follow them on Twitter at Will Miles SEC, at Real B Sykes, and those guys are good. We'll have a lot of stats talking about transition classes from past coaches, from Zook, from Spurrier to Zook to of course Zook to Meyer, and Meyer to Muschamp, and Muschamp to McElwain. And asking Dave, who do you think running back one is next year? Malik Davis comes back from that injury. All good. He's got to be number one running back in my mind. Showed way too much as a true freshman. Definitely loved the way he played. Hey, look, and I believe in Dan Mullen's system too, and with his speed. I believe he can be a big weapon at the run. I think he can show even more than what he showed this past year from the running back position, because there's going to be some big old lanes to run through in this Dan Mullen offense, but it also is predicated on running the quarterback. So you got to get a quarterback that can also have a threat to run with his legs, that can open up some more holes there and kind of see. Lemons, I like Lemons a lot. He may be P. Ryan's probably going to be the guy. Just cause that Davis injury, he hurt it late October in the Georgia game. so may not be ready for the start of the season. But I'm just saying, based on if you're just giving me a blank slate and everybody's healthy and all that, Malik Davis is my number one running back. And that's how I would look at it. So yeah, you guys can shoot some more questions. I'll sit here and we'll talk about it a little bit more. What about Scarlett? I don't know. I would think it's probably not looking good for Scarlett, and he probably should just go ahead and take his way to the NFL. I know Trey Wallace put out a report yesterday that none of the players will get to see the student advisory board or whatever. That's what they have to wait on before they get back. That's what they have to get back. They have to see the student advisory board before they are allowed to be back as a student and, of course, as a student athlete. And that may not be until the spring because all these deferred prosecutions and court cases and all that stuff have to be done before the student advisory board will see them. So, and Trey mentioned that could be well into the spring. So that means all these players that have to be basically reinstated by the student advisory board will have to wait. And would Jordan Scarlett really want to wait until the spring to figure out his future when he could go to the NFL? I mean, I know us as Gator fans really like Jordan Scarlett, but I don't know. He probably showed enough to be a really late, 5th, 6th, 7th round pick in the NFL. But of course, as I said, these running backs would look a lot better if they had the threat of a quarterback and not facing loaded box after loaded box. But Jordan Scarlett, I still think I expect him to be a little bit better than what we've seen so far. He really came on. That would have been 2 years ago. What year does it say on that block behind you? That's the Gator Walk brick my wife bought me back in 2007. So that's not the year I graduated or anything. That's the year she got it for me. So pretty neat gift there. Coaching hires, don't really know anymore right now. We know the Surtain rumors out there from American Heritage head coach. We'll kind of see where that goes. To me, it would have already happened by now if he was going to be here. I don't know why the wait. If that, we know there has been a secondary coach hired. His name escapes me right now. I've got 50,000 names going through my head with signing day and all that. But you could have a safety coach and a cornerback coach, so that would be where Surtain could still come in and fit in. Warren, there we go. We'll kind of see where that goes. I'd love Surtain as a hire. It would really open up that South Florida pipeline, especially to American Heritage. But he knows a lot of talent down there just as a head coach playing other teams and stuff. So it would be a really good hire. It would be a really good South Florida hire and getting a pipeline going down there. Anything on Schwartz where he's leaning? The latest was he's leaning towards Auburn. That was a couple weeks ago. I would have to think Mullins' offense, you could sell him on him being a good fit there. If track is still a big emphasis on him, Florida still has one of the best track programs in the nation, so there's a lot for Schwartz to think about. I do think he'd be a good fit in Mullins' system as kind of a slasher type of, I don't want to. I hate putting this Percy role on somebody in this offense. Look, there's only one Percy Harvin. And I'll say that until I go to my grave. Percy Harvin was elite. There's not many like him. He probably should have been used even more in his time here. So, but if you want to sit here and say a Percy role, I can see if Kadarius Toney doesn't get a shot at quarterback, or if he does and it doesn't work out, you can see him in that role. But that would be somewhere like where Schwartz could fit in too. Take a handoff out of the backfield and just hit go and see if you can use your speed to the outside. There's Bill. Yeah, I'm only a 4-star nerd. Bill's the 5-star. But yeah, I saw somebody ask about Patrick Surtain as far as the player, Patrick Surtain Senior's son. I don't think I don't think he comes to Florida. I think he's leaning other schools right now. But maybe they can sell him. It's still hard to get a gauge on what this new staff is going to do after this early signing period. Like I said, I think they concentrated so much on getting these early commits, these early signings. After Wednesday, I kind of think we'll know a little more of what they're looking for as far as filling out the rest of the class and a lot of these other players that we don't really that aren't committed anywhere or could be leaned somewhere else. Then we'll see how hard they hit these guys and see if it pays off at the end. Um, I hope we use the outside more in the run game and stuff. Yeah, we definitely will. That's Mullen's run game. That's his wheelhouse. Look, so for targets that does Mullen call his offensive plays, I believe he does. I believe he will here at Florida as well. Look, we know for as far as guys that are currently committed for Florida that won't early sign. Look, Richard Garage, offensive lineman, one Florida has to keep, must keep. Find a way to keep that guy on the offensive line, just in general. Nicholas Petit for air, you got to get him. And he's probably big time offensive lineman, maybe leaning other places, but after Wednesday, he has to be, if not your top target, one of your top targets to go there. William Barnes, go find a way to wrap him up as well. You can somehow find a way to get those three guys. It probably doesn't happen, but you find a way to get Barnes, Garage, and Petit Ferrer. You're setting up your offensive line to have three guys there that can be anchors along that offensive line for years to come and grow with this Dan Mullen offense from day one. Still look for Andrew Chatfield, the big-time defensive end down there from American Heritage. Hey, look, Corey Gammage still committed. We'll kind of see what happens there. I don't really know. There'll be some time to kind of play around. Defensive tackle Noah Jefferson. I think Florida we'll be definitely looking at him at the defensive tackle position, trying to get him in here. Benito, another guy to look out for. So we'll get, like I said, we know a lot of the targets Florida's going to target after Wednesday. It's just after Wednesday, I think we'll see how hard they're going to hit these guys and how hard these guys are on the trail. And, of course, there's a dead period to worry about. So, we got the holidays coming up, too. So, after Christmas and all that good stuff. Yeah, Copeland's a name we get a lot. I don't know. We just really haven't heard a lot from Copeland or Jamar Chase or any of these wide receivers that were committed under McElwain. We haven't heard a lot since those guys decommitted. And we'll see how Mullen and Billy Gonzalez and those guys, target those guys that would think, they're fit in this offense. Gators Breakdown needs merchandise. There's a little bit out there. I'll post a link or something later. I believe it's on teespring.com. I believe there's some out there. This early signing period is another thing I talked about earlier. For one, I don't like it. I think it really hurts these new coaches. Jack's West Side or East Side, Mandarin. But go back to this early signing period. Yeah, I don't necessarily like it. It puts these new coaches at a disadvantage. And look, even coaches that have been around the block, like Nick Saban doesn't like it. And you can see why coaches like him wouldn't like it. And, look, he's getting ready for a playoff game. You got 4 teams right now that are chasing a championship, and you got to ask them to now go worry about an early signing periods while they're trying to practice for these big games that they got to go play. I don't necessarily agree with that either. So, and there was nothing wrong with having one in February, and I know I've thrown this out there too. Have one before the season started. Have a signing day before the season starts, but that also kind of is weird because it comes into play if a coach is fired, and can they back out of that commitment or anything like that. That would be, I would still be for early signing day if you get them, if they can commit, and the only way they can change is if there's a coaching change. If you commit to a coach, and I say like August 1st, something like that, that should be before training camp starts, before summer camp starts for football. you have a signing day. Those guys commit and there's no coaching change, they have to live up to that commitment. If there's a coaching change, they can get out of it. So that's kind of how I feel about early signing day. This one right now, having it about a month before the other signing day, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think we'll kind of see how it plays out. I think if Nick Saban cries enough, it probably gets changed. So Copeland said he's going to Tennessee. Copeland has said a lot of things and has visited a lot of places. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I do think Tennessee is a threat. Don't get me wrong. I do think they could land him. But we'll kind of see if Dan Mullen makes him a priority, and if he's just looking for attention, and kind of if he's looking for the attention and Mullen shows it to him and he likes what he hears from Billy Gonzalez and that, we'll kind of see where it goes. So kind of to rehash, I know a lot of people are asking about it. Emory Jones, yes, I would say he signs with Florida in the end on Wednesday. I think he'll be a Gator. The tea leaves are on. You kind of read the tea leaves and like as I mentioned earlier, all those Ohio State insiders are kind of pointing to it, that it should happen. Look, here's the one thing though. Don't count out Urban Meyer in this. Urban Meyer gets a lot of the recruits he wants, and if he, puts the full court press on Jones, then it's going to be a battle until the end. But if Jones wants to play early, you have a chance to play early. Then look, Florida's the place to go. Come build with a new coach. Come build where you can be the guy. The offense is built around you. They'll build it around you, and you can help build it as well. Come full circle here. So I just think early playing time and the scheme fit, and it's just kind of a perfect fit. So hey, look, and Bill's pointing it out too. Urban wants him, Saban wants him, Taggart wants him. This guy's a big time recruit. Sorry guys, just still slowly getting over sickness here, so I gotta have that water. So and kind of mention, kind of summarize as well. Van Jefferson does commit. We'll see if he's able to play year one. He's going to have to petition NCAA to get a transfer. Since he's transferring from Ole Miss, a lot of those guys are going to try to petition and play right away when they transfer to new programs. So just talk here too. Look, I don't think Jones is the only quarterback Mullen's going to go after, even if he does commit. I think he wants two quarterbacks, as I kind of talked about before. What other quarterbacks on the roster fit what Mullen wants to do ideally? Now, look, we know Mullen said in his opening press conference he'll adapt and he'll go along with whatever quarterbacks he has. But we know when this offense works best, and it's with a 230-pound quarterback who can run the ball. And I don't think it has to be a 230-pound quarterback, but it has to be a quarterback that can move the sticks. It has to be a quarterback that can run. So, yeah, that's just the way to look at it. And Bill's in here, and I know he'll probably share this stat again, and he posted it on Twitter the other day. Hey, but look, when Mullen's offense is working, it is your quarterback is the leading rusher or the second leading rusher on the team. That's Dan Mullen's offense. So when we talk about Matt Corral and how he fits or doesn't fit in this offense, you think Matt Corral really wanted to play in this offense when you're asking the quarterback to run 20, 25 times? Look, this was a mutual parting of ways, I believe. I don't think Dan Mullen was going to beg him to come to Florida, and I don't think it was going to be Corral willingly coming to, run the ball on third and short. So, he had limited options. We know he visited Alabama weeks ago during the season. He tried to visit LSU. That never came about. And look, he was then looking at Ole Miss and found a school that would take him. So, Oh, yep. All right. So not too much longer. I'll try and read this chat here and kind of going on. Can't expect big success in Mullins' first year. 2019 is a bigger year. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll talk about this on the podcast Wednesday night. But this is a transition class, and I mentioned the early signing period and the new wrinkle that throws in with it right now, and trying to have to scramble to get the 3.5 weeks on the job and trying to get a class together. And there's still a outline out there where Florida can get a top 15, top 10 class. Uh, but this is not the class Dan Mullen's going to be known for. This is not the class Dan Mullen's going to be winning championships with. I don't think 2019 is the year when he has a year in the state of Florida, when he um, can recruit for an entire year and show his system to recruits with Florida athletes for a season. McKinney has some on-field success in 2018, sure. I wouldn't be expecting the 2008 or the 2007, 2008, 2009 offense by any means, but we can see enough and he can show enough uh, to sell recruits that, hey, look, we got this thing going in the right direction. Come play for me. So 2019 will be the year. But 2018, hey, recruiting class starts 2 days from now, and like I said, we can outline a top 15, a top 10 class that can help solidify Dan Mullen's career at Florida. But it's that 2019 class that's already off to a good start, and kind of see if he can kind of keep that together and keep it going there. So we can keep throwing names out there. Offensive line, of course, got to get some depth there, some linebacker depth, defensive tackles as well. To fit in this new 3-4. Going to be interesting to see how they attack Wednesday, and definitely after Wednesday, and see for the next month. How they go along with this. Ooh, yeah. So this lasts a little bit longer. I was going to have this last about 30 minutes, but you guys kept it fun. We'll probably try and do this a little bit more. Trying to do a whole episode sometimes. With all the note taking and research we do, kind of does kind of take its toll. But we doing this right here where we can kind of interact and go back and forth with questions and stuff. That's a good little way of doing it, and keeping the interaction out there with you guys. I guess I'll talk about also John Huggins, the most recent commit over the weekend. He'll be an early signee, as I mentioned, 6 foot, 200 pound safety. They'll probably bring him down. He can play in the box as well. He can kind of maybe be an outside linebacker, kind of from Corey Bender of 24/7, physical makeup. Could eventually slide down into the box as an outside linebacker. Nice job reading and reacting. Plays sideline to sideline. Has real good speed. So they say he has a great frame. Will only expand once arriving in Gainesville. But an athletic kid who even chipped in at cornerback during his senior year. Sideline to sideline defender who's looking to expand his number in the stat book. Huggins is a coachable young man as well. So, Duke Oden threw a name out there. Malcolm Lamar is another name to kind of keep an eye on. There's some whispers of maybe he might be more interested in Florida right now with Mullen there. We'll kind of see. Florida was kind of known to be the early leader in his recruitment, and then Oregon and FSU started getting involved. We'll kind of see how it all shakes out now with all the coaching changes and stuff. But we'll kind of see. That's another name to throw out there along that defensive line, and we'll kind of hopefully see and even bigger names like that. There's probably going to be some targets out there that we're not necessarily looking at and expecting that Dan Mullen, Todd Grantham, Billy Gonzalez have their eyes targeted, have targets on as well. So, guys, thanks for joining me here on this. Kind of short notice, but real fun. We'll keep doing this. I did it through throughout the season a little bit pregame. You guys made it fun, so we'll try and keep this going. It might be me one week, Bill one week, Will another week, or something like that. So kind of keep it fun. But yeah, before I sign off again, believe me, Wednesday night it will be the show you can't miss. Bill, Will, and I have kind of already talked about it. Kind of everything with early signing day, we'll have it covered. Thanks, Mike. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens this early signing day. I kind of outlined the names to look for. We kind of know mostly who's going to sign. The surprise, will be Emory Jones, or may not be a surprise. We're all kind of, choosing that he'll go to Florida, and hopefully that's going to be the case. But I'll kind of update that a little bit. So, yeah, it looks to be 11:30. I've also heard 1:30. They may push it till Emory Jones, so we'll kind of see. There was rumors that him and Trey Dean may try and commit together or close to the same time. I would say that's a good sign for Florida, since Trey Dean is a heavy lean towards Florida. So maybe they kind of want to get that, Gator connection, a lot of Gator momentum on early signing day out there at the same time. So look for Emory Jones around 11:30. If they push it back to 1:30, we'll see. But look for, first half of Wednesday to figure out what Emory Jones is going to do. And a current Ohio State commit, and hopefully soon to be Florida flip. So yeah, guys, thanks for joining me here. As I mentioned, Wednesday night, you'll get it. Will probably be around 8:30 p.m. Me, Gator Dave. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Bill Sykes at RealBSykes on Twitter, and Will Miles at Will Miles SEC. Got some big things coming with Will coming up in the future as well. We got some things cooking for Gators Breakdown and some other ventures out there. So keep your eyes open and your ears open out there. We'll be sharing that stuff soon. So guys, thanks, and share this if you can. A lot of good talk, and go Gators.